Hey, Bayek. It's me, Ian. And I'm going to ramble on about this, The Clash debut album, released April 1977. And how this is absolutely one of my favourites. It is. I just want to give you some background. What I want to do is I want to just give you my passion for music. I'm not very technical. I'm just not very good at technical stuff. But hey, that's how it is. I'm a collector as well, and I love physical media. And I have a passion for these things, and I just want to give you an indication of where I am and why I love these things. Music and films, cult TV series, they carry a lot with them right back in my sort of mind. And music, of course, is always there. I mean, I started taking music seriously when I was about 11 years old, 1972, 71, 72. I started to really take music seriously. I mean, it had always been there in the 60s, and I'm aware of things going on in the 60s. But my passion started listening to the charts and then expanding, listening to radio shows like John Peel, etc., learning about things, and my pocket money going on buying records and what have you. So, here we are, 1977 release of the Clash album. Now, as a bit of a background to punk, I started getting into punk well, it was punk, not newer then. No, it wasn't. Anyhow, I started collecting these punk singles in about end of 1976, around that era, and it was all about the singles. Punk as a movement was very much about the single. Get the single. You weren't thinking about albums, and there weren't many albums around. It's interesting though that Blondie released their debut album in 1976, though we never actually saw it in this country properly until Plastic Letters, which was later 77 when that was released. They then re-released the debut album, and then we got it then. Because Blondie, I'd noticed on the singles, we managed to get things like Ripper to Shreds and what have you. Anyhow, I digress. So, what happened was that, when 1977 started, there wasn't really any albums around. We were all kind of waiting for an album to emerge, even though we were so immersed in beginning to see groups live, enjoying the singles, the picture sleeves, the excitement, just the whole excitement of collecting and enjoying the music. And then the first album really was in February 1977, which was The Damned with Damned, Damned, Damned. And then, a couple of months later, we had the release of The Clash debut album and the debut album from The Stranglers, Rattus Norvegicus. So, those were going to be albums, that we were really starving and wanting. I mean, the Pistols didn't release their one only album until late October 1977. So there's quite a gap there. And Talking Heads, absolutely one of my favourite debut albums. I love debut albums. Talking Heads 77 won't release till September. But still, as you can see, a lot of the big albums were released in 78. The sort of people like the Buzzcocks got it together, and Magazine, Susie and the Banshees, all these kind of groups. The Only Ones, I love The Only Ones. They didn't release their album until 78, debut album. But to digress, The Clash, one of the early albums, and boy, as soon as I heard that album, as soon as you put it on the turntable, the excitement, wow, it was so exciting. I mean, we'd done White Riot and all that, and then this Janie Jones comes in, those drums, they're straight in, and there it is. It begins. You couldn't stop playing it. You couldn't stop playing the album. Amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's interesting that it cost £4,000 to make. We had Strummer, Jones, their partnership, the musical partnership was there already, writing the songs. There's only one cover version, and what a cover version that is. And then we had, on drums, we had Terry Chimes. Now, Terry Chimes, that's his one appearance, because we get the next legendary Clash lineup with Topperhead, and then we've got Paul Simon on bass. And already he's even making his mark is being made there. I think one thing you should say about the Clash first album, it's exciting, it's spontaneous, it's everything you want, but the musicianship is so good. And I think, though they're having a bit of a laugh in a way with the Garage Land song, that's because that's affected where they come. The practice involved, the writing together. They were really good musicians, and it shows. It shows in the thing. Also, this album was produced by the sound engineer Mickey Ford. I mean, it's just amazing. It is amazing. Of course, in a way, the Americans, when they heard the album, it wasn't actually released in America because it wasn't considered very radio friendly. They removed 5 tracks and put in 9 other tracks on the American list. That was until 1979. In America, they think Give 'Em Enough Rope is the debut album, I'm sure. But they brought in Sandy Pearlman, who was a producer who I know a lot of people at the time thought it was a bit of a sellout and kind of smoothing the sound, making it more radio friendly. But I don't know. I think Give 'Em Enough Rope is an excellent album. It really is. It is a great album. I think the rawness and energy is still there, and I think the songwriting is still good and still excellent, and it's all building up to London Calling. So, I'm not going to criticize the production. I think the production is great. But anyhow, back to the debut album. So when you play it, I remember my friends. We used to know the lyrics inside out. We used to be singing along to them. We played it so much. I'm sure we wore the album out playing it. And the other thing, the one cover version on there, of course, in a way, is so important, and that is the reggae influence. Reggae and punk always had a great affinity together, and Police and Thieves, today you listen to it any time, it's an absolute classic. I actually love it more. I think it's better than Junior Mervin's original edition, but they're in a way miles apart, but it's so good. It really is so good. And the musicianship is there. It's there. And also the musical influences. In many ways, the Clash go back to early rock and roll kind of influences, and the rockabilly almost. Because don't forget, Joe Strummer's 101ers before the Clash, they were kind of more rockabilly, early rock and roll sort of influence, and it's all there. And then there's the other just rock, raw images of music, you know. Nothing's. It's funny because Police and Thief is the real long track. One thing about a Clash is they get things over with. There's almost the songs are very short, snappy, and I think that's part of the single mentality. But it's just shows you they were kind of saying, look, you can produce excitement. You don't have to go on for hours producing songs. And, you know, I mean, this is what the whole over-bloated groups like, I don't know, ELP perhaps are a good example, who just thought they were just brilliant and they were boring the pants, really. They weren't. They may have originally been very good. They were good. But these groups had just become so overblown and full of themselves. They'd lost where they actually come from and why they perhaps were originally producing the kind of music they were. And punk came away and said, no, you know, here we are. We're exciting. We've got something to say. We want to show you that we can deliver that message. And they did. They delivered whatever they did. And you didn't have to be political as well. I mean, a lot of them were political because it was a political thing. But you could still show that you could still be a rock musicians as well and just play this exciting music which came from the roots. Playing live, all those good things, you know, that musicians like, you know. I know the ethos was that anybody could pick up a guitar and start playing. Well, that's a good ethos, and because it got people into it. And then they started practicing and realised how they could develop. And to survive, and as time has shown, those who were talented and musicians carried on and made good careers. And that is what happened. And the Clash were there right from the beginning doing that. The excitement of the Clash, they were just fantastic. They were just amazing. This album is an amazing album. And I absolutely love it. I do. I just can't, but it brings back so many memories of me as there I am, 16, 17-year-old, listening to this and being excited by it and knowing it inside out and loving it. And all these years later, I play this and I feel that passion. I feel that love for this album. And that's how I am with music. I'm going to tell you stories about all my music and why I love it. You know, I'm not going to be negative about these things. Let's be positive. Hey, as my character says, let's be positive. And that's what I'm going to be. Positive. Let's look at things good. Let's not down everything. Let's look what makes you as a person love things. You know, love how you are as collectors. But it's music, films, cult TV for me. That is what I'm going to give you as my passion and my story. So, all I've got to say now is be happy. And I'll see thee. And I'll see thee again. Hey.